Hi, I'm Cillian MacSweeney.
Hi, I'm Ereena Fryday.
Hi, I'm Gallagher.
Hi, I'm Jason Forde.
Hi, I'm Sinead Grant.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to our EN6161 podcast. Join us on our journey into puberty and adolescence. Puberty is the process that leads to sexual maturity. The process marks the beginning of the end of childhood. Puberty in males typically occurs 2 years after it occurs in females, usually around the ages of 12 to 13 years old, and may last until the age of 19, but can vary depending on genes and the environment, secular trends, and ethnicity and geography. Many of the changes experienced are physical changes that show, including testicular enlargement is the first physical manifestation of puberty, while the length and then the breadth of the shaft of the penis will increase. Other physical changes that show include the growth of facial and body hair, breaking and deepening of the voice,
Today is gonna be the day!
rapid growth spurt, and the broadening of the shoulders. Law breaking, and alcohol abusing behaviours as well as symptoms of depression. Later maturity. While later maturity in males similarly has both advantages, they may be more creative as adults, and disadvantages, such as lower self-esteem, as they experience problems with anxiety and depression, and are more likely to be afraid of sex than other boys. Challenging times. Puberty can be a challenging time for boys. Once a boy reaches his teenage years, erections occur much more frequently due to puberty. Spontaneous erections are also known as involuntary or unwanted erections and are normal. Such erections can be embarrassing if they happen in public places, such as a classroom or living room. This may lead to confidence, self-esteem, and body image issues. Embarrassment for students. Further side effects of puberty can also be a cause of embarrassment for students. Rising levels of androgens can change the fatty acid composition of perspiration, resulting in a more adult body odour. Another androgen side effect is increased secretion of oil sebum from the skin and the resultant variable amounts of acne. Acne cannot be prevented or diminished easily, but it typically fully diminishes at the end of puberty.
We will now take you through the effects of puberty on girls. There are many physical changes that can occur. Bodies can double in size, growth spurt in height, breast development, growth of body hair, and the beginning of the menstrual cycle. Puberty can also have many emotional effects on girls. Increased social awareness can create a fear of being different from their peers. The smallest of triggers can lead to emotional breakdown, including fits of tears. Girls can often ignore and reject parents in times of emotional stress. Girls often experience increased attention from the opposite sex, with many lacking the social skills to cope. It can also lead to teenagers developing new relationships. Figuring out who they are can be a roller coaster experience. This can often have effects on their attention span in school, with many becoming disconnected during class. It can also trigger behaviour issues in the classroom due to heightened emotional tension. It can also affect their attitude towards school, with many wanting to stay at home until it has run its course. Puberty is a tough transition for any tween. Girls who experience puberty before their peers have even more challenges to face. It is becoming much more common, and the negative impact in girls has been well documented. Girls must experience certain social and emotional milestones before they are ready to journey into adolescence from childhood. If puberty occurs too early, girls can become overwhelmed by the stress of adolescence and the changes that are occurring. Feeling different from their peers is a constant challenge for tweens, and girls going through puberty are more likely to compare themselves to others. This can lead to a sense of being the odd one out. If puberty coincides with other transitions, such as the transition from primary to secondary school, then the teenager may experience greater stress than others.
Let's talk about sex.
Sex education. Sex education in Ireland is quite clearly outdated and not student focused. A survey published in the Irish Times highlighted that the number of people who did not receive sexual health education in Ireland is 8% greater than the global average. This is quite a worrying statistic and further highlights the need for reform. Students' perceptions. One theme that emerged was that students felt that schools did not fully accept that some students were sexually active. Young people believe there is an overemphasis on abstinence, moralizing, and a failure to accept the full range of sexual activities they engaged in. Also, they felt that practical information was not delivered, such as methods of contraception and the steps to take if pregnancy occurred. What's wrong with the system? This picture is a prime example of the old-fashioned approach to sex education in Irish schools. While the provision of sex education has developed, it is still not at an adequate level. There are still major issues with how sex ed is taught in schools, as seen with the Pure and Heart group who provide sex ed to students. They still adopt an abstinence-only model with strict anti-abortion talks. They fail to provide practical information students need and instead opt for scare tactics such as diseases, crisis pregnancies and other risks. Recommendations. Firstly, acknowledge that some students are sexually active. Provide students with the practical information they need around contraception, etc. Introduce the topic of sexual health earlier in a student's life, i.e. primary school. Incorporate LGBT aspects, as Ireland is a much more diverse place today. Move away from the abstinence-only model, as this is very ineffective and students don't connect with this approach.
Okay, class? So this year we're going to have a new approach to teaching sex education, okay? Owen, do you be embarrassed talking to me, your teacher, about sex ed?
Yeah,
You do? Why?
because it's awkward.
It is awkward, exactly. Is it because you know me?
Yeah.
So this year, Owen, to help you, I'm going to bring in a third part squashy couch. So Owen, why am I bringing these in for you and the rest of the class? Well, it's to banish any myths and misconceptions you may have about your sexual activity.
Nice.
Okay?
Is it
Yes,
true
Owen?
what they say about big feet?
It is Owen. Big socks. Squashy couch will also help your students to make informed choices about their sexual health. You can discuss sexual health in a safe and open environment. And you can also discuss the different types of contraception and reality of the dangers of STIs.
And on, there are information stations set up in the PE hall. If you have any questions related to sexual education, you can write on a sheet of paper and put your question on it and put it into a box. Later on then, there will be a blog set up by your teacher to answer all these questions.
So through this new approach of teaching sex education, we will create an informal teaching environment where your students will feel more open to discussion and speak about any problems you may have. Through this, we will use videos and visuals.
As you know, Owen, as Petty says, 87% of the stuff you learn are through your eyes. What do you think of this service, Owen?
I think it's great.
Thank you, Owen.
And that concludes our podcast. Thank you for joining us on our journey.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you.